Hello, welcome to the Leverton on Everything podcast. I'm Leverton, and this is Everything, a daily podcast where I review literally everything in under 10 minutes. Yesterday, I watched a Danish or Norwegian film called Wild Men or Wild Man from 2021, and it was directed by Thomas Dankenskov and stars Rasmus Björk, Zach Josef, and Bjorn Sundqvist. And here's the synopsis. In a desperate attempt to cure his midlife crisis, Martin has fed his family high up in the Norwegian mountains, hunting and gathering like his ancestors did thousands of years ago. I'll just be upfront with you. I gave it 5 out of 10. And the reason is, I think it's attempting to be like a dark comedy, like a dark Nordic comedy like The Trip. But the darkness isn't dark enough, and the comedy isn't funny enough. So there are a few funny moments, but it doesn't really land for me. So that's why I gave it 5 out of 10. But why not give it a completely bad review? I think that there are a couple of good things about the film. So the first thing is that the cinematography is beautiful because Norway is beautiful and there's lots of scenes of the wilderness. And I think some of the minor characters are really quite well written and acted, like the police officers and that kind of interaction. And there's this thing that doesn't really go anywhere in the movie, but it's just like a guy, he's driving his pregnant wife somewhere and they're arguing about things, and they have like a completely natural argument when events of the plot interrupt them and then you never see them again. So I actually like that because I don't have the philosophy that all parts of everything needs to contribute to the story, right? So, I mean, the plot. Because I think that conversation does contribute to the story. So the story is the inability of men and women to communicate, and the plot is basically what happens to Martin. So I did like a few minor details, but also, yeah, I'm a little bit incoherent, but I think what was good about the film shows what's bad about the film, because they did really think about those like tiny little details that create a story. Like, for example, Martin is this guy and he goes out in the wilderness to hunt things, and he's not actually a very good hunter, so his back to nature thing is not working very well. So he accidentally, or maybe on purpose, robs a gas station. And so he takes like chips and things, and he's out in the wilderness again, and he comes across somebody who has had a car accident, and the car got kind of destroyed by a moose. And that's also another good, it's kind of like a public service announcement showing you how big moose are, and to take the threat of them seriously if you live anywhere with moose and you're driving. But yeah, so one guy, he leaves his friends because he thinks his friends are dead and like they're committing crimes, so this is a stolen car. So he runs away, and then he goes into the wilderness and he just collapses because he has a huge injury in his leg. And Martin finds him and helps him, and he actually sews up the guy's wound. And if you look, it's done perfectly. So there's a suggestion, I think, that Martin is some kind of doctor, and he doesn't like, and then he disinfects the wound later. Like, he doesn't even say what he's doing, he just sprays it with like disinfectant. So yeah, there's a hint that Martin is some kind of physician. And I think that the story is really, I think it's an important story because I think a lot of couples do not know how to communicate, and I will tell you, I don't know how to communicate with my partners. Yeah, that's why I'm single. But yeah, it is a very important story, and I think that they were too afraid to give the man's perspective on things. they kind of did it a little bit, but in the end, it's like Martin goes back to his family because, of course, what he's doing is ridiculous. So yeah, not. I don't think that's why. I don't think that's why the story doesn't fail. I think this. I don't think that's why the story fails. I think it fails for a number of other reasons, like you know, the lack of comedy and the lack of drama. Yeah. So I don't know. 5 out of 10. If you're interested in Danish films or Norwegian films, you could watch it. But if you're not, then you could miss it, and it's not a big loss for you. One thing you should see though is The Trip, Swedish film, really great. Another really great thing is my podcast, Death by Disney. I review Disney movies chronologically, so check that out. Bye.